from now.
There's not going to be any more babies in our house.
That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Have a great trip. I'll warm up. How are you doing? Is everything ready for the holidays? Oh, I don't blame you.
Nathaniel, he's got to go practice on Christmas.
Yeah, not till later.
All right.
You and the
Does anybody have announcements for the whole group? Any announcements for the whole group? Paula.
Yay, the season's at hand. Advent is here. And the youth group will kick off on Wednesday with their infamous, famous taco bar. So all parents come to me so I can give you your goodies. Please come early and come with an appetite.
All right. And dinner's at 6. And Advent service is at 7.
Lutheran hour.
Lutheran hour.
It took me a while to figure that one out.
All right.
I'm going to deviate from the normal script ordering schedule because of where Christmas falls. So I will do an order next week. So if you are looking to order script for Christmas gifts, it will be in selected time. And then if I have requests for orders, I'll do one the following week. Any closer than that, I can't ensure it'll be here for Christmas.
Okay. All right.
If you would like to order a cyclamen plant for Christmas, the sign-up sheet is upstairs. Each plant costs $17. And also, you've noticed probably the mums wandered downstairs because we don't have flowers on the altar during Advent. So if your name is on the sheet, take a plant home, please. They're really beautiful, so you don't want them to, just languish here in the basement. Although the school kids would love that, I'm sure.
The list is here. All right. Eileen.
So many things are happening, so we need to keep up. Next Saturday morning, we're doing our brunch for the LWML. If you're coming, I need to know no later than Tuesday, or you won't get to have food, so you need to tell me. We're going to do it upstairs in the fireside room, and we're going to be ordering food and have it brought in for us so we can have a very relaxing time. We don't have to worry about short staffing at restaurants or any of that fun stuff. So by Tuesday at the latest, I need to know if you're coming. Also, next Sunday is the deadline if you're going to give gift cards for the seminary student and his family, so I can get them to them so they have time to use them for Christmas. If I'm not up at front, you can give them to my wonderful husband. He will make sure I get them. So there's that. We're practicing for the Christmas program, which is on the 12th. We don't have a lot of kids today, but we're going to go ahead and still practice. And then next week, Mrs. Tebow will be back, and I think that we'll go in and practice with her in the sanctuary because she's going to be playing the piano for us. So we need to make sure. And then on the 12th, everyone needs to be on time in Sunday school, on time, on the 12th, so we can start here in the fellowship hall. Yes. And I think that's food baskets.
Food baskets.
All right, good segue.
You're it.
The list is coming around. We do 50 baskets for the shelf-stable stuff. Sign up, bring it in by Wednesday the 15th, and we will deliver on Saturday the 18th, starting at 11 o'clock. Because I'm going to ask them if they can come pick it up. That seemed to work well last year.
All right.
And the youth will be supporting that, so little youth, bring your parents.
All right.
Yeah, because little youth don't drive.
All
Yep.
right.
Little youth don't
Josh is
drive.
all about it. He's ready to do the pickup.
Awesome.
Yep, he can be your runner. All right. Any other announcements for the sake of the whole group? Joseph, you had one? No. No, you changed your mind. All right. Ed.
There will be Wednesday Bible class here at 9:30. It didn't get in the bulletin.
Okay.
There will be Bible class this Wednesday.
Okay, Bible class will resume Wednesday mornings, 9:30 in the library upstairs. Yep. Let's see, President, anything? your participation and for coming. I say it was a very full voters meeting. So thank you for your interest and for your concern for the matters of the congregation. All right. Oh, yeah. If God so moved to serve as secretary of the congregation, we are looking for someone who, especially is really good at details, really good at listening to details and following details. If you know someone who also likes to correct people when they're a little out of order, you're our person. All right. So prayerfully consider serving as secretary on behalf of the congregation. Yeah, you now have an announcement.
Yes.
What is
There
it?
will be 2 churches, like on there's Tuesday, Christmas church, for 2 together, like for on
Oh, okay. So Joseph wants to remind us that yes, Advent is coming. We'll focus on the O antiphons, which is actually the basis of the hymn "O Come, O Come, Emmanuel." So yeah, Wednesday for the Advent services, we December 1, 8, and 15. And then we'll also have Christmas Eve. We actually, something new that worked during COVID was having 2 services on Christmas Eve. We'll do that again. So I have an option of 5 and 7 on Christmas Eve. Okay, so you can come for 5 or 7 for a little earlier. You may come at 5 on Christmas Eve. And then the Christmas Day service will be 10 a.m. All right. Any other announcements? Go on. Going twice. So, all right. Catechism du jour. 7th commandment. 7th commandment. Okay, dear class, just repeat after me. You shall not steal.
You shall not steal.
We should fear and love God.
We should fear and love God.
So that we do not.
So that we do not.
Take our neighbor's money or possessions.
Take our neighbor's money or possessions.
Or get them in any dishonest way.
Or get them in any dishonest way.
But help him to improve and protect.
But help him to improve and protect
his possessions and income.
his possessions and income.
All right, Sunday school.
And little man.
All right.
Bye, sweetie. Be good to him. Okay.
Also, for those of you who are or go to the late service, just a little heads up. Just a little change in pace today. Our organist is out of town. And we got to bring her safely back. And our other substitute organist we normally have now has a job again at Urbana. So we wish Mrs. Baca the best. We actually had a college student among us today, and I believe she was a student here in our preschool a long time ago. Yeah, we have a piano player today for leading worship, helping guiding our singing. And I think it went pretty well in the first service.
Except when there were only 2 of us in the pew during communion.
Yeah, a little tough, but it was actually a very nice change of pace. It was very nice to have her come and provide music today. All right. So we're on the Songs of Isaiah, the oracle concerning Tyre and Sidon. And if I remember correctly, we did start the introduction, kind of looking at some of the places that are mentioned in this song. In particular, Tyre, Sidon, Phoenicia, and we left off here with Tarshish. All right. So the question is, who or where is Tarshish in this song coming up? We have a couple options of, what or where Tarshish is. And of course, the first example is Jonah chapter 1. So if you got your Bibles to Jonah chapter 1. Here's Jonah. Where's the back? Jonah, Micah, Nahum, right? There's Jonah. It's always tough when you get those shorter prophets in the Old Testament, you know, that they always, whenever you change the page in chunks, right, you just skip right over them. Like, no, where did you go, Jonah? You went the wrong direction, that's what you meant. All right, Jonah, chapter 1, verses 1, 2, and 3. Can someone read for us about Tarshish?
The word of the Lord came to Jonah, son of Amittai. Go to the great city of Nineveh and preach against it, because its wickedness has come up before it. Jonah ran away from the Lord and headed to Tarshish. He went down to Joppa, where he found a ship bound to that port. After paying the fare, he went aboard and sailed for Tarshish to flee from the Lord.
All right. So, the big question is, where is Tarshish? Right? There are two good, clear places that would qualify, and a few others where it could be anywhere. And let me explain. All right, so Tarsus in Asia Minor, which is up here. So here's Jerusalem would be over here, Tyre and Sidon down here. So one place is Tarsus, or Tarshish, would be here, just a couple miles from the coast in Asia Minor. Or southwest Spain. I think most Bible commentators who like a good extreme story will emphasize that, yes, he was seeking to go as far away as possible from the Lord, and Tartessus in southwest Spain would be kind of, you know, like all the way pretty much to the other end of the Mediterranean Sea. Or it could just be, hey, it was a place a long time ago, and no one really knows where it is today. And that actually is also possible, right? We just know that God told him to go to Nineveh, and did Jonah go there? No, right? That's the point, right? In verses 1, 2, and 3, that's the point. No matter how far he intended to go, or a particular what direction he was going, right? The point was, he was not going to Nineveh, right? He intended to disobey the word and command of the Lord, right? And there were going to be some repercussions for that poor decision, right? But we don't actually know where, in particular, where that place was. 1 Kings chapter 10 also gives a little bit of another clue. I'll turn to that and read that for you. If you want to turn to it, you may. But I'll read this one for you. 1 Kings chapter 10, verse 22. So this is a list of Solomon's great wealth. Okay, after he asked the Lord for wisdom, and the Lord said, "I'll give you wisdom, but I'm also going to give you things that you didn't ask for, including wealth and honor and fame and glory." Right. So this was a catalog of Solomon's great wealth. Verse 22 says, "The king had a fleet of ships of Tarshish at sea with the fleet of Hiram. Once every 3 years, the fleet of ships of Tarshish would come bringing gold, silver, ivory, apes, and peacocks." Or baboons. Right? Technical terms of words that aren't used much in Scripture, right? The point is it's exotic, right? And there are far-reaching places that are not clear where from, but apparently these ships did a lot of sailing and a lot of trading. But you did hear a word or a name that should sound familiar. Hiram, right? We talked about King Hiram last week, that he was from Tyre. So we know that there's a fleet of ships that go in and out of Tyre. That we do know. And they do a lot of trading in and out of Tyre. Alright? Tarshish actually means smelting or ore, and that could be a proper name of a city, or could describe any port that exports ore. So that could be anywhere. Right? It could be anywhere off of the Mediterranean Sea. And it could also be Tartessus in southwest Spain. That is a possibility, especially when we consider the exotic animals that were traded. Okay? My guess, if I were to guess, I'm going to say Tarsus in Asia Minor. Yes?
How far out did Phoenician trading ships get? Did they get beyond the Pillars of Hercules and out to Western Africa and Europe?
I don't know. I honestly don't know. Yeah.
The Phoenicians, according to archaeology, traveled the world. If you go to Tahiti and that part of the world, you will find Phoenician writing in caves above some of the ports there. And I've seen pictures of it and seen the discussion of it, and it is Phoenician. There's also evidence in the United States, all the way up the Mississippi River Valley, of Phoenician statues and other objects that otherwise are ignored because we say Columbus discovered America. Well, the Phoenicians were here first. You know, the Native Americans, they knew them. In fact, even some of the languages of our Native Americans are Phoenician in origin, like Navajo.
Interesting. Yeah.
And that trade went back and forth because there's also in that same time period evidence that they found of Icelandic people who had come down into Spain and Italy, and they found artifacts from that time period down there where so there was trade that went all the way back up and down that coast.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't think this is a problem these days. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, you know, you ever get the sense, like, sometimes we treat the people of biblical times as dumb or less sophisticated? You know, or like we think of, like, the times of the days of Noah. You know, oh yeah, those are primeval people, or they're less sophisticated because they don't have modern technology. You know, that is nonsense, right? I mean, compared to people today, right? They didn't have all the time to spend on their little life, right? They didn't have those forms of education, so they delved into and tried out different things and learned in the process and actually gained a lot of good insights. They were very wise, handy, crafty people.
They created it.
They're very creative. So it is quite possible that, you know, this Tarshish could be southwest Spain or beyond. Or we're going back and forth all over. It is a possibility, yeah.
How far did the Assyrian Empire go back? I mean, because he was trying to avoid them.
Yeah.
So I feel like wherever Tarshish, it would have been not part of the Assyrian Empire.
Yeah. Syria would be farther inland this direction.
Yeah, so like any place that's just not that. I feel like he would have been fine.
Yeah. So yeah, he would go that way. Go west, young man. Go west, young man. To the sea. The sea calls. Because the Syrians don't swim. No. Well, they're inland. They're landlubbers. Okay, they're landlubbers. Okay. You know, but Tyre, they love the sea. They love the sea. They love the trade that involved in the sea, and so that is, yeah, they're able to avoid a lot of the problems of Assyria and Babylon. Yeah.
Even the Psalms talk about the deeps, depths of the sea and the sea deeps, and the great waves and all of that, which are not the shore of the Mediterranean. They're way out in the deepest oceans beyond, I believe, the Mediterranean. So even the Hebrews knew of things well beyond their own land and talk about those things.
Right. Yeah, we just don't have the clear record of how far they went, right? We can only judge by descriptions of the scriptures and by artifacts that we find. All right. But I'm still going to guess Tarsus and Cilicia. I like to be conservative in my choices. And this is about as conservative as you can get when it comes to this, and I'll explain why in a minute. The other kind of place that's mentioned, thank you Google, is Cyprus. Okay, Cyprus is a major player in this song coming up. And Cyprus, of course, is this island nation that kind of looks like a pork chop. Right there off the coast. So Tyre and Sidon's over here. Okay, Tyre and Sidon's over here. Jerusalem here. Okay. Over here would it be Tarsus, right? And of course Tartessus in Spain would be over here, right? To get your bearings. Okay. But what we know about Cyprus is the Old Testament name associated with Cyprus is Kittim. Okay, Kittim. Good sized island for a stop along the Great Sea. Good connection for routes to and from Tyre, Syrian Antioch, Tarsus, and Pamphylia, the Old Testament Hittites. So it just seems like Cyprus was a good connector for trade between here and here and here. Right? They like to do their trade, especially locally, here, or regionally, in that area. It seems to be a pretty regular thing. And of course, following trade routes, guess who went there? Barnabas and Saul. Okay? Well, I think we're going to skip over this, but yeah, Barnabas and Saul even sailed there to Cyprus for missions. All right. Text of the oracle. So now that we got a little bit geography, let's delve into the text. All right. So we are going to Isaiah chapter 23. Isaiah. Isaiah chapter 23. So again, we'll kind of look at the formatting of the text. We'll look at the thematic organization of this song, and then get into the fine details of this text here of the song. So, the headings. In the ESV, the heading says, an oracle concerning Tyre and Sidon. All right? If you actually look in chapter 23, verse 1a, the heading literally in the Hebrew is the oracle concerning Tyre. Okay? Any other Bibles out there that have a different heading or title than an oracle concerning Tyre and Sidon?
The fall of Tyre.
The fall of Tyre. You notice that his Bible focuses on just Tyre, and it follows 23 verse 1, where it just says an oracle concerning Tyre. Okay? ESV included Sidon for some reason.
Mine says against.
Against. Oh, always got to be negative, don't they? Well, yes. When we talk about the oracles, yes, there is a lot of bad news. There are some stern warnings, some heavy burdens that the Lord lays upon Isaiah and to the nations that receive these messages. Okay, so against is a fair translation. In fact, that's what I normally always thought of as, it's the oracles against the nations. But I might suggest a happy ending for this one, perhaps. But again, a pretty common, standard, accepted heading is an oracle against Tyre. Okay, any others? Any other Bible, headings?
Mine says prophecy, so.
A prophecy.
So, I mean, depending on what, let's read further, that's a good clue, that's a sign. What what should we be looking for?
Yeah. You said it's a prophecy against?
You know, it says a prophecy about.
About. Okay, yeah, that's a nice, neutral, right? They're gonna let the reader understand. I like that, I like that. Yeah, about or concerning. I like those. Those are prepositions. Yeah, those are prepositions. I like those prepositions, about and concerning. All right, very good. Very good. Any other headings or titles? All right. So most of them are neutral, but a couple say against. All right. ESV and Hebrew agree on the poetry of prose section, except for verse 13. So if you kind of look at your headings, you'll notice that almost the entire chapter is, all the squiggly centered lines, right? So that kind of, again, tells you this is poetry, right? So verses 1 through 12 are all poetry. Some of our English Bibles will put 13 in a paragraph, a nice neat paragraph. Some of the English Bibles will also keep that in poetry. But for the most part, they agree this time, so that's kind of nice. There is a little bit of, in Hebrew especially, the second half, it goes back and forth between poetry and prose. So verse 15 will be a nice neat paragraph, then 16 is poetry, then it goes back to prose. So it kind of feels like a song with the speaker interjecting, especially towards the end. That's the feel it has. All right. Formatting for sense. And so what we really get is verses 1 to 14 is a paragraph, or a very large paragraph. It's like its own section. Okay, so verses 1 to 14 is kind of like part 1. And verses 15 to 18 is part 2. Okay, so it is just a very nice, neat, clean change. It seems to change in its style and what it covers. All right, and again, it's actually very similar to English Bibles. So that's what we got. So here's a little thematic structure for part 1, and then we'll get into the details. All right. So for part 1, it really just has a nice beginning. Well, not nice. A beginning and ending that kind of focuses on wailing, O ships of Tarshish, for certain things are destroyed. And in the middle, it covers the downfall of Sidon and Tyre, and also the Lord's purposes regarding Tyre and Sidon in the middle. Okay, so this does provide a nice little unit. So we'll see if we can get through 1 to 14 today. All right, so let's delve into the text. All right, can someone read verse 1 for us?
The oracle concerning Tyre. Wail, O ships of Tarshish, for Tyre is destroyed, without house or harbor. It was reported to them from the land of Cyprus.
Mm-hmm. There you go. So, 3 places named, right? Tarshish, Tyre, and Cyprus. Right? Can you think of an area or region that has 3 major cities for transportation, commerce, and trade? 3 cities that are kind of in the same area that have a lot of commerce and trade and transportation back and forth. Yeah.
Saginaw, Midland, and whatever the other one is.
Bay City?
Yeah.
Yeah, Saginaw, Midland, and Bay City.
That's true.
Yeah, that's right. Yes, through the ports of Lake Huron, right? So the bottom of Lake Huron. And it kind of goes into the Saginaw Valley. So for those of you not from Michigan, that's from here. Okay. Frankenmuth, you might have heard of it, is here. Okay, and that area is nearby, so a good chicken dinner for you. But yeah, it's that area is very well connected. You got your 3 C's of Ohio, Right, what are your three C's of Ohio?
Yep.
Cincinnati, Cleveland, Columbus. Sorry, Toledo, you get the boot. All right. Or you think of, I-70 and 75, right? Maybe we could put in Dayton, Cincinnati, and Columbus. Right? Those three make a nice, neat triangle. Southwest Airlines, right, was started on the back of a napkin, right? Because a guy wanted to set up a plane routes between Dallas, Houston, and I forget the other city, maybe Austin. Right? But there was 3 cities in Texas, and the whole premise of starting Southwest was to get a triangle between those 3 cities in Texas. And then, of course, where they are today. Right? Yeah, good things happen in threes. There is this, and that's why I do think that Tarshish would be Tarsus in Asia Minor. That it does provide a nice local or regional. Sorry for going back, but I like maps. A nice local, regional kind of triangle, not obtuse one, between here, here, and here, right? And just going back and forth and back. Okay. So that's why I like that. As the way I picture Tarshish as Saul of Tarsus. Okay. Now, looking at verse 1, why is Tarshish wailing? Why is Tarshish wailing?
It's been completely destroyed.
What has?
Tyre has been destroyed.
Tyre has been destroyed, right? Remember, Tarshish is probably somewhere else, right? But Tarshish is wailing, right? They have nowhere to send their stuff, nowhere to drop off cargo and pick up, right?
So you're saying they had a supply chain problem?
They have a supply chain problem. Well, supply chains are wonderful, right? But what happens when 1 or 2 links are off? What happens to the whole system? It breaks down. And what are we seeing today? A breakdown in 1 or 2 pieces of the system. And it affects everything, right? You can't just blame one thing on one person, right? That if the one thing is off, the system falls apart or it gets threatened. And especially if you have like 2 or 3 things not working the way they should be, then it really messes things up, right? All right, yes, there was a supply chain. Not a problem. All right, verses 2 to 7. Let's read about the downfall of Sidon and Tyre. Someone read that one for us? Verses 2 to 7.
Be silent, you people of the island, and you merchants of Sidon, whom the seafarers have enriched. On the great waters came the grain of Shihor. The harvest of the Nile was the revenue of Tyre, and she became the marketplace of the nations. Be ashamed, O Sidon, and you, O fortress of the sea, for the sea has spoken. I have neither been in labor nor given birth. I have neither reared sons nor brought up daughters. When word comes to Egypt, they will be in anguish at the report from Tyre. Cross over to Tarshish. Wail, you people of the island. Is this your city of revelry, the old, old city whose feet have taken her to settle in far-off lands?
Okay. What translation of Bible do you have there?
NIV.
NIV. All right. So whale, ships of Tarshish. Whale is kind of like an onomatopoeia word. Yow is what the word in Hebrew is. So you have like just a howling, yowling noise that the ships are making, right? And usually when your ships are making weird noises, is that a good thing?
Never.
Never a good thing. If your ship is making weird noise, you might want to make sure you're on land, right? Or nearby land.
It's like being in a house by yourself.
Be silent. ye inhabitants of the coast. That's an interesting word because silent can mean to be silent, it can mean to be dumbfounded, astounded, or it can mean to wail, groan, and lament. It's kind of like a synonym of wail. Or perhaps the silence right after a loud groan. Like you just let it loose and all of a sudden there's like really quiet for a few moments afterwards. Perhaps that's the picture of be silent, inhabitants of the coast in beginning of verse 2. Okay? Be ashamed, O Sidon. Right? Ashamed, disappointed, confounded, or feel shame for someone else. And then it just mentions Passover and wail, ye inhabitants of the coast, which is the same word as Passover. It means to pass through, to go through, or to cross over. The point being, take a look around, right? The inhabitants of the coast. Take a look around. Pass through the town, the harbor. What do you see? Something that makes you yowl, howl, and to be ashamed. That's the picture that Isaiah is painting. All right? Now let's get into a little bit more details here. Who's upset at Tyre's destruction? Okay, there's a couple different groups named here that are to be upset or are upset at Tyre's destruction. Okay, so verse 1 again. Who's upset at Tyre's destruction?
Tarshish.
Tarshish, right? The ships of Tarshish. Why? Just for review.
No place to trade.
No place to trade. No one to trade with, no place to trade, nowhere to rest their ships. Okay? The supply chain has been broken. Okay, verses 2 and 3. Who also is upset at Tyre's destruction?
Sidon.
Sidon, right? Who? The merchants of Sidon, right? The merchants of Sidon, right? Those who are involved in trade, right? Anyone else in verse 3?
Egypt.
I think it's the same, right? But it does mention that it was that they also were involved in trade with who?
Egypt.
Yeah, they're in trade with Egypt too, right? You were, notice the past tense, right? You were the merchant of the nations, right? Why are they up? Why is Sidon and probably Egypt? Why are they upset at Tyre's destruction?
Because of trade.
Yeah, they also can't trade, and of course Egypt has what? Perishable goods. All right.
Grain.
For what?
Spy, because the King James translates spy as at the report concerning Egypt, so shall they be sorely pained at the report of Tyre. So it like makes a comparison to the earlier oracle of Egypt, rather than making Egypt the one who is disappointed or constrained.
Yeah, I don't have the Hebrew handy right here, but yeah, in verse 5. Take a look at verse 5. Okay, so while we're on there, who's upset at Tyre's destruction in verse 5? And why?
Egypt.
Egypt, right? Egypt is upset.
They will be in anguish, mind.
They're in anguish. Or Hebrew, they will have labor pains. Like they are writhing. Okay. Or it could be that Egypt has already faced their demise. Right? Some of the Bibles have translated. Okay. How about verses 6 and 7? Who else is upset at Tyre's destruction?
Those who live on the coast.
Yeah, anyone who lives on the coast, including Tarshish, right? Those who live on the coast, right? Because they are dependent upon that trade for their livelihood, right? All right, so 8 to 13. All right, so let's read verses 8 to 13. The Lord's purpose. Who has purposed this against Tyre, the bestower of crowns, whose merchants were princes, whose traders were the honored of the earth? The Lord of hosts has purposed it, to defile the pompous pride of all glory, to dishonor all the honored of the earth. Cross over your land like the Nile, O daughter of Tarshish. There is no restraint anymore. He has stretched out his hand over the sea. He has shaken the kingdoms. The Lord has given command concerning Canaan to destroy its strongholds. And he said, you will no more exalt, O oppressed virgin daughter of Sidon. Arise, cross over to Cyprus. Even there you will have no rest. Behold, the land of the Chaldeans. This is the people that was not. Assyria destined it for wild beasts. They erected their siege towers. They stripped her palaces bare. They made her a ruin. All right. So, according to verses 7 and 8, what's so great about Tyre? What was great about Tyre? Verses 7 and 8.
Famous merchants and very wealthy.
Famous merchants, well known throughout all the earth, really. And they were rich. They were rich. They were wealthy. Verse 8, bestower of crowns. Yeah. Bestower of crowns. Maybe they made them. Maybe they provided the jewels. Or, you know, they were just in and amongst all the leaders. Yeah.
It seemed like they were power brokers.
Mm-hmm.
That those that were in trade.
Mm-hmm.
It also states that they were honored.
Yeah.
So they were probably honest merchants as well.
Yeah.
Trusted.
They were trusted. Yeah.
Yeah. Also founded another seagoing powerhouse of Carthage in western North Africa.
Mm-hmm.
Carthage was a very large trading body at that time,
Yeah.
about the 9th century. So they not only were themselves powerhouse, but they also founded other places.
Yeah. Let's say they were very strategic. They were very wealthy, successful, honorable, at least, that they were in and around the power brokers of the day. So, according to verse 9, though, what was not great about Tyre? What was not great about Tyre? Verse 9. Pride. Right? Pride. To defile the pompous pride of all glory, to dishonor all the honored of the earth. Ooh. And who was going to destroy Tyre? The Lord. Right? Who is behind Tyre's destruction? The Lord. The Lord. In his wisdom, in his justice, he was going to destroy their glory, their fame, because of their pride.
It's also interesting, Pastor, that the instrument of the Lord's vengeance on Tyre was Nebuchadnezzar.
Yeah.
When he finished with Judah and Jerusalem in 586, he turned to Tyre and sieged Tyre from 586 to 573.
Yeah. So right after Jerusalem.
And destroyed them.
Yeah.
Isaiah's prophecy 150 years later does come true.
Yeah. So Isaiah's prophecy comes true. It is fulfilled. So yeah, when Nebuchadnezzar went after Israel, right? We know that story, right? We know that one. We focused on that one, but yeah, while he was there, he got all the way to the coast. He got all the way to the coast. That landlubber, he made it all the way. And he even went farther. Verse 12. He said, you will no more exalt, O oppressed virgin daughter of Sidon. Arise, cross over to Cyprus. So you're going to try to seek refuge in that little island, right? Even there, you will have the rest. So yeah, Tyre couldn't escape God's punishment by just going to an island. Okay. Tarshish wails again. Poor ships of Tarshish. Okay, verse 14. Can someone read verse 14?
Wail, O ships of Tarshish, for your stronghold is destroyed.
Okay. All right, so stronghold. means a place or means of safety, protection. It can be a place of strength, like a city or a harbor or maybe a fort. And even figurative, got a refuge and source of protection. Right? So you kind of picture like a fort or a natural barrier protecting the area from the ships. And the poor ships of Tarshish are wailing, right? Because it's destroyed. So, all right. So, let's read verses 15 to 18. And kind of the big question is, this is a sad song or a happy song? So, can someone read verses 15 to 18?
At the time Tyre will be forgotten for 70 years, the span of a king's life. But at the end of these 70 years, it will happen to Tyre that, as in the song of a prostitute, take up the harp, walk through the city. You forgotten prostitute, play the harp well, sing many a song, so that you will be remembered. At the end of 70 years, the Lord will deal with Tyre. She will return to her lucrative prostitution and will ply her trade with all the kingdoms on the face of the earth. Yet her profit and her earnings will be set apart from the Lord. They will not be destroyed up or hoarded. Her profits will go to those who live before the Lord for abundant food and fine clothes.
All right. So, just as you first hear that or read that, does that sound like a good ending or a bad ending to you? Happy ending or sad ending? Is this a comedy or tragedy if you use terms of plays? Is this a sad song or is this a happy song?
Well, in some ways, it's a happy song because Tyre is going to be restored to a certain extent.
There seems to be some kind of restoration prophesied at the end.
But there is a cost.
But there is a cost. Okay, there is a cost. 70 years. And then some. Okay. Any other thoughts when you first read through or hear that? Verses 15 to 18. Does it seem like a good ending or a bad ending? A sad song or a happy song? Are we doing major or minor here? Yes?
It seems kind of derogatory, whatever else you could say about it.
Mm-hmm.
These aren't exactly flattering terms to phrase their restoration in.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of compares her business, if you will, compared to a prostitute. Right? Not exactly the most positive image or description of the people of Tyre. Yes?
I mean, to draw out that image, right? The Lord is not restoring Tyre for the sake of Tyre. Right? If you read the whole way through, the Lord is restoring Tyre for the sake of Israel. Right? Because it says in 18, her merchandise and her wages will be holy to the Lord. It will not be stored or hoarded, but it will go to those who are set apart by the Lord. So they're not going to Tyre unless there are folks in Tyre who repent in front of the Lord. Right? It's going elsewhere.
Okay. Well, rejoice because it's getting used. There is something about wealth being used and enjoyed. Right? All right. So it's a mix, right? It has elements of a sad story, but it also has elements of a very happy ending, right? Say even some of our Bible translations, the headings, right? Say, is it against or is it concerning, right? So here are some things. The sad ending, right? Yeah.
I was just curious, is Tyre a Christian or Jewish-based community?
No, it's almost completely pagan. However, there are some connections to Jesus later on. And there are also some favorable connections with the Lord among some. And I think that's a good way to put it, right? And that's true about any nation, isn't it? Right? Regardless of what their origins are, the Lord calls out, right? We preach the gospel to the ends of the nations, or to the ends of the earth, whether or not they have a faithful upbringing connected to the Lord or not, right? And will people believe in the Lord Jesus? Yes. In including people from Tyre and Sidon, who will hear the word of the Lord and believe. Okay, so here's some things about a sad ending. Yes, her business is compared to a prostitute. There's something about needing to sing to be remembered. Like, I need to sing, I need to play the harp, I need to do these things in order to be remembered or I'm going to be forgotten. It's kind of a sad image, if you will. For 70 years, forgotten. That's what is prophesied. 70 years for the lifetime of a king. This land will be forgotten. Returning her wages, right? Not always upon her will, returning the wages. And then Psalm 83, again, Tyre and Sidon are emphasized as enemies of the Lord in Psalm 83. But there are some clues that this could be a happy ending. Okay? The merchandise and wages will be holy to the Lord. I'm going to cover that one in a minute, because I think that's really important. And her merchandise will supply abundant food and fine clothing for those who dwell before the Lord. That there seems to be a positive outcome from the people and place of Tyre. And then actually Psalm 87, again, speaks of the people of Tyre as in a positive light. That there are some who are named by the Lord who come from there, who worship on the Lord's, Mount Zion, who come from Tyre and confess the Lord as their God. So, yeah, it could be happy. All right. So delve into this one just a little bit, and I think we can call it a day. It mentions the song of the prostitute in verse 15 and 16. Okay? And this is based on some other things that we do know. Is Proverbs 7 delves a lot into this image of an adulterous woman or a prostitute in Proverbs Chapter 7. Okay, so let's take a look at Proverbs Chapter 7 for a little bit. And as we go through it, I want you to kind of picture, what are the tactics of an adulterous woman? How does Solomon describe an adulterous woman? What exactly is her invitation? And what are the dangers of her ways? And you might have an idea before even reading what the answer is, but listen closely or follow on closely in Proverbs 7 to get a clear picture and appreciate how the Scripture describes the tactics of an adulterous woman. Okay, so Proverbs chapter 7. I gotta find it too. After Psalms, right? Before Isaiah. And before Ecclesiastes. Can someone read for a little bit? Proverbs 7, beginning of verse 5 for a couple verses.
They will keep you from the adulteress, from the wayward wife with her seductive words. At the window of my house, I looked out through the lattice. I saw among the simple, I noticed among the young men, a youth who lacked judgment. He was going down the street near her corner, walking along in the direction of her house, at twilight as the day was fading, as the dark of night set in. That was tonight. You want me to keep going?
If you'd like to, go ahead.
Then out came a woman to meet him, dressed like a prostitute and with crafty intent. She is loud and defiant. Her feet never stayed at home. Now in the street, now in the squares, at every corner she lurks. She took hold of him and kissed him, and with a brazen face she said, I have fellowship offerings at home. Today I fulfilled my vows. So I came out to meet you. I looked for you and have found you. I have covered my bed with colored linens from Egypt. I have perfumed my bed with myrrh, aloes, and cinnamon. Come, let us drink deep of love till morning. Let's enjoy ourselves with love. My husband is not at home. He has gone on a long journey. He took his purse filled with money and will not be home till full moon.
21, 27?
With persuasive words she led him astray. She seduced him with her smooth talk. All at once he followed her like an ox going to slaughter, like a deer stepping into the noose, till an arrow pierces his liver, like a bird darting into a snare, little knowing it will cost him his life. Now then, my sons, listen to me, pay attention to what I say. Do not let your heart turn to her ways or stray to her paths. Many are the victims she has brought down. Her slain are a mighty throng. Her house is a highway to the grave, leading down to the chambers of death.
So how does King Solomon describe this adulterous woman? What are the tactics of an adulterous woman? What are some of the tactics mentioned? Yeah.
It's sight, smell, voice.
Sight, smell, voice, the senses.
The senses.
The senses. Okay.
Smooth talker.
Smooth talking. Okay. Smooth talking. Yeah.
She's very brash, right? She's not obtuse in what she's trying to do, right? It's not like, oh, just come over for a visit, right? It's very clear what her intentions are from the get-go.
Okay. Very clear with intent. And brazen. Okay. Any other things about the tactics of this adulterous woman? Yeah.
They use the word love versus just come over and get a booty call.
Okay.
I'm sure that was common at that time.
Verse 18, right? Yes, let's take our fill of love till morning. Let's delight ourselves with love. Okay? All right. Yeah, Cart?
She looks for them. She's out and about. She's like a crafty predator on the lookout for this young, stupid man.
Looking for a young, stupid man. Right? And it wasn't hard. It wasn't hard. And she found a young, stupid man. And it worked. All right. Any other words of description? How else does Solomon describe her? Anything else to add based on verses 5 to 27? Like I said, we kind of covered a lot of these already. Any other things that come to mind, or yeah?
She's cunning and conniving.
Okay.
She knows her plan, like a spider sets her web, and she's going to trap that wayward individual coming by, and she will get her victim.
Yes. Very intent. Okay, verse 10. Some of our Bibles have different translations. Behold, the woman meets them dressed as a prostitute, wily apart, is how ESV translate it. Any other translations that end in verse 10?
In a gaudy manner.
In a gaudy manner. Verse 5, guarded in heart, perhaps. Yeah.
And towards the end, the result of this trap is death.
Yes. Yeah, it kind of goes to the dangers of her way, right? This leads to death and destruction, right? Now, Solomon was brilliant about the wisdom from Solomon, right? Is we don't know exactly how this guy ends up dying, right? Yeah.
Obviously, there's the Christian viewpoint of the soul, because when two or more, you bind together. But back then, a wife that was adulterous was stoned, correct?
Yes. And also, the husband could exact vengeance.
Vengeance.
A husband could exact vengeance upon this young, stupid man.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yep. So yeah, that could be. It could be through other means, or it could be a spiritual death. Like I say, we don't really know. That's also why the brilliance of Solomon. And you kind of get a feel for. This is very similar to how the Song of the Prostitute in chapter 23 kind of sounds, right? I have to make noise. I have to keep on doing these things. I have to play my beautiful harp music so I don't get forgotten, right? And it does seem to have a lot of connections. Yeah.
Isn't there a bit of a feel of throwing stones in a glass house? How many wives does Solomon have?
Yeah. That is true. Yeah,
But he could.
the human messengers are corrupt. The human messengers are corrupt. Or you could say, for sinners, it takes one to know one. And that's true about Solomon, yes. Yeah, okay, okay, go ahead. Yep.
She also seems to want to make him feel safe. Her husband's
Yes.
gone,
Yeah.
and so even in this evil, you'll be all right.
You'll be all right.
For this time.
Yeah, thinking all the way through. Good plan, right?
She's making him comfortable in his sin too.
Yeah.
That's one of the most dangerous parts, because that's a really subtle trap. That's what Satan does to people of faith, especially, because if it's a full-on attack, it's like, no, I see you, Satan, I'm not gonna do that. God says
Right.
don't do that.
Yeah.
But when he asks, does God really say, when the woman is like, my husband's not home, it's fine, and I did my peace offering, it's cool, it's fine.
Yeah.
It's a lot
I look
more-
righteous, don't worry.
Right, fine, and it's
No,
a
no.
lot more tempting, I think, than if she just had left it and kissing him on the mouth and saying, come home with me.
Yeah, yeah, true. All right. Yep, I gotta go. Yep.
I feel like this segues very well in how people treat adultery today. Like,
Yeah.
I was in LA 6 months ago, and there would be these huge billboards on the side of the freeway advertising life is short, have an affair. And there would be a website where you could go to go have an affair, meet other people looking to have affairs.
Wow.
People today, like, we don't treat it with the same sort of gravity as they did back then. And all these young, stupid men think that, oh, I'm getting away with this. But it's still just as true today as it was back then, even if you don't see the physical repercussions like you might have then.
Right. I think there still are physical repercussions even today.
There are.
But, yeah, you're right. But it is, it might seem different, but it really isn't any different. Yeah, that's a good point. All right, we gotta quit. Let's say. We'll pick it up next week and finish out this section. Let's stand for a little prayer. Lord, remember us in your kingdom and teach us to pray.
Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory,